Sometimes we want to understand what we are ruled by. So I say I'm both left brain and right brain. So the question is, what am I ruled by? Let's talk a little bit about so-called left brain versus right brain. And I say so-called because there is a school of thought that says there's really no such thing as left brain or right brain. But just to describe an archetype, and for the sake of discussions, let's talk about it. So the left brain people are the techies, right? They think about rules, procedures, constructs, standards, laws, and they're able to operate within that framework. Think of a programmer. Like I was when I first started off. I was a systems programmer and I wrote in a specific computer language that had syntax and rules and things that would cause the system to crash and procedures that you'd execute whenever the system did crash. Now, I like to tell a story about why I'm a terrible programmer. Well, at least I was. And according at least to my brother-in-law, I still am. I was in undergraduate school. And I was programming in Fortran. I decided that I was going to do a function, e to the x. And instead of relying on the function that was embedded in the computer, I was going to write my own, which was infinite series, right? And an infinite series is where you just keep adding numbers together and you get closer and closer and closer to the number you want. Well, I did that, except that I didn't tell it to stop adding. And furthermore, I told it to print at each step. Every time it added. So I was creating mountains and mountains and mountains of output, printout. And I was waiting for my printout and I'm thinking, why isn't it come out? Where is it? And so then the came out and said, who's Linda? Linda, I canceled your job. It was in a loop and it kept going on and on and on. I digress. Anyway, rules, procedures, standards, and laws. Like that operator who had procedures for what to do when a rogue programmer got out there and did crazy things like what I did. Then you have the so-called right brain, right? So they are the people, there's the designer, the inventor, the teachers, the storytellers. So I actually have the archetype of both, right? I have that mathematical calculation type, likes to do that, just likes to solve equations and things like that. And then I have the storyteller, the teacher, the inventor, and to a lesser extent, I have the designer, right? That's the so-called right brain. And so where did this right brain, left brain come from? It was in 1860, a neurologist named Braca mapped out the brain, the left portion, which controlled the ability to speak. Then a decade or so later, another neurologist further mapped out the brain and looked specifically at the area that controlled the ability to understand. In the 50s, there were studies done with patients who had epileptic seizures to discover the prevailing view then, which was that the left brain was superior and the right brain was flawed. The left brain was associated with reasoning and analysis, and the right brain looked at history and patterns and emotions. So sometimes we want to understand what we are ruled by. So I say I'm both left brain and right brain. So the question is, what am I ruled by? Well, the left brain rules when, and socially at least, when consumer goods are high in abundance and they are in demand. One thing that you might wonder is, Linda, why are you talking so much about left brain and right brain? What difference does it make? Well, as you make the odyssey from tech to leader, the technical orientation is more of an environment that's ruled by the left brain, whereas the effective leader, notice effective is said there. The effective leader is ruled perhaps by the right side, right brain, the so-called right brain. And so let's talk about what that environment looks like. The left brain environment looks like a situation where consumer goods are in abundance and in demand. There are a lot of activities which are reduced to a set of rules, a set of procedures, a set of processes, and tasks are logical and they're repeatable, just like in programming. But when the environment is more conducive to right brain type thinking, what's going on? That means that the environment is where there are problems that need to be solved that no one else could even consider were problems. right? And the demand for goods out there they're satisfied by creators, by empathizers. And activities are not just a set of procedures, but a set of patterns. And solving problems become very important. And there's a lot of attention to problems that haven't happened before.
If this episode sparked something for you, don't let it stop here. Subscribe to the Next Level Paycheck and join Linda Cureton every week to break the $80,000 ceiling with faith, strategy, and unstoppable confidence.